Welcome to Life in the Moose. Let's keep building a house today. We're going to connect this wall right there, which is a shear wall I worked on, I think the last episode. I'm going to connect that shear wall to the outside wall over here. Then I'm going to connect these two sections of the outside wall to connect all of this that I have done so far. So in essence, I'm standing in the future hallway. This wall that we're going to work on today, right here next to the shear wall, that separates our primary bathroom from the hallway. I mentioned an episode or so ago that this wall here requires a 6x6 post, load-bearing, and a 4x4 post, load-bearing, and a beam that goes across the top of them. And if you remember the 6x6 posts and the 4x4 down there, both are load-bearing and they both have to be strapped directly to this sheathing and to the 4x4 and 6x6 that are right underneath this sheathing. And I can't really strap both sides of this 6x6 with the attached wall right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut my little notches into the sheathing for my straps that I have. I do now have those straps. And then once I cut those notches, then I'll know exactly where to stop my framed wall right here. I'm gonna frame this wall as normal and then put the 6x6 right on the outside on the end of that wall section. So let's go get the multi-tool out and cut some perfectly good sheathing. Last week I marked underneath where this 6x6 post was under here. So it should be right here, and the slots I need should be just on the outside of this bracket. So it should be right here and right here. Yeah, got through that one. I'm gonna have to notch that a little bigger though. Okay, notches are cut. Now let's cut some strapping. The engineer called out 24-inch strapping on each side. So 12 inches below the floor, 12 inches above the floor. So we need two pieces, 24 inches long. CS16, coiled strapping, 16 gauge steel. That's what this is. This is like 150 feet long, 40-pound box. I'll probably use most of this. Let's cut this 24 inches or so. I don't think anyone cares if it's a little bit longer, but I don't want to waste any either. I don't know if I have the right shears for this, but I managed. All right. That's tough to cut. Once I score it, it's okay. As soon as I cut these 24 inches, I remembered that I need longer ones for this one because I can't get to it right underneath this sheathing. I'm going to have to attach it to this post lower. So I cut two 36 inches. So we'll save the 24s for the 4x4. Let's see if we can get these down in this slot. Hey, look at that. Okay, that works. Now I'm just going to put a little bend in them at 12 inches. That way they won't fall through too far. Well, let's go fasten it to that post underneath. Okay, here's my 6x6 post right here. There's my 4x4 post right there. Notice anything different? Yeah, that one over there does not have any blocking right here. I attached this when I did the floor framing, and it is tight against this, so I cannot put the strapping right here. I mean, I could, I'd have to destruct and demo the blocking on each side of this, and that blocking was called for. I didn't notice that the strapping was called for until the blocking was up. Here's what I'm gonna do. Since this middle one is a 6x6, and these sides are 4x4s, that leaves me a little space right here. So that's where the straps are gonna go. It's not in the dead center of the post. I don't think anyone's gonna care. It holds it down, and that's really all that matters. So on this strapping, they call for 2.5-inch nails. Let's nail this bracket to the floor. Okay, let's cut our 6x6 post. This wall is a 9-foot tall wall. That 6x6 is gonna run all the way from the sheathing up to the top of the bottom upper plate. Does that make sense? So in other words, it's gonna be the length of these pre-cut studs plus 3 inches. 1.5 inches for the bottom plate, 1.5 inches for the lower top plate. First thing I have to do is score this end off. Okay, the pre-cut studs are 104 and 5/8, so I have to make this 107 and 5/8. Okay, here's where it gets interesting. At this intersection, we transition from a 2x6 wall to a 2x4 wall. That beam that goes across from this point over is a 3.5-inch wide beam. So to make that transition, I'm going to notch this 6x6, leave one side whole and tall, and leave 3.5 inches out so that beam can sit in here. And that way, the hallway side is going to be flush all the way down. Does that make sense? This will after a while, I assure you. So now I have to notch this out 7 1/4 plus my 1.5 inches for that top plate that's going to sit on here. All right, so this post doesn't have to stand here for a long time by itself out in the open. I'm gonna go ahead and build the wall that connects that post to our shear wall over here. Then I'll just leave the very last stud, the one that is pressed up against this 6x6. I'll leave that one out. That way I'm able to nail my straps down. So this one should go pretty quickly. No windows, no hold downs, just a wall. Okay, you've heard me talk about on layout before. Well, let me show you what that means. Ultimately, it means it's on a 16-inch center layout from some original point. Like this wall over here, for example. That is my point 0 when it comes to any wall along this side. So that wall over there, even though it's not connected to there, that is on layout according to that point over there. So that entire wall is on layout. If I were to draw it on the floor, every 16-inch center and mark a stud, those studs would be right on. So they'd be where they're supposed to be. The reason I'm talking about that now is because this little section right here, I'm gonna, in essence, do the same thing. I'm trying to start ground zero right here at the east side of the house. So even though there's not gonna be anything connected on the floor, I am going to start this on layout, which means my first stud will be only about 4 inches away from the end. That's okay, at least I'm on layout. So down the road when I'm putting up sheathing and or drywall, I know where to start from and I know where my studs should be. Should be. The key word, should. So I have this bottom plate laid out. Now I just need to transfer it to the top plate. I know I cut that short enough. Okay, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna leave these last two studs. This is gonna be my nailer stud that nails onto the post. And then of course, this is my on layout stud that continues the layout. So I'm gonna leave these two open out so I'm able to get to these nails. I know I'm gonna need this. Ooh, that looks good. That looks good too. Since this looks good, I'm gonna go ahead and stand it up and then just pin it up here. If you remember, I have this little gap right here, about 1/2 of an inch. So this wall is gonna stick out about 1/2 of an inch, just like that. All right, let's lift. That's good. It's gonna make it even with that top plate up there, which it is right now. All right, that's not going anywhere. Let's check our lines. Yeah, we need to go this way a little bit. But now that we're pinned up there, I can take these nails out. Okay, now obviously I'm looking for the floor joist underneath where to nail these things. One here, there's one there. There we go. So except for the top plate, this wall's finished. Okay, well, I'm gonna call it a night. You stay where you're at. Tomorrow we're gonna build more walls. We're back at it today. When you weren't looking, I went underneath and attached this strapping to that 4x4 that's under there. So this is ready to go, ready for that 4x4. Well, actually I have to put this little bracket down first, and then we're ready for that 4x4. As I mentioned yesterday, on top of this 4x4 and on top of the beam that we set, or excuse me, the post we set yesterday, there's gonna be a beam that runs all the way over to this wall right here that we're gonna build next. And this wall has a lot going on. There is a big opening for a front door, which we haven't picked a front door out for sure. We don't know if we want one that has a side light or if we want just an oversized front door. We don't know. So I'm gonna make it as big as possible. What's restricting the size of this right now are the hold downs. There's a hold down on each side of this big opening right here that we're gonna have. So we're basically gonna make that opening as big as we can up until the hold downs. Right here in this wall, we have to build a pocket so that we can put this beam into, and it'll be suspended up here. So the first thing we have to do is measure the distance from wall to wall, what our bottom plate is. And of course, we're gonna use that same measurement for the top plate. So let's find a couple straight boards and keep laying out walls. I'm bummed your view isn't any better. Yeah, it's still pretty smoky up here. As far as smoke index goes, it's hovering around the 160 mark. And I think between 150 and 200 is supposed to be unhealthy. If it gets any worse, I'll put a mask on. I just really despise wearing masks, so I hope not to have to do that. But I will if I have to. I don't want to get sick over this. So a lot of comments, a lot of people were asking where the fires are at in relation to where we are. Where do I start? There are several up in Canada, probably within 40 miles. I will say 50 miles. There's one west of here, kind of west-southwest of here, about 30 miles. There is one straight east of here, about 50 miles. And there's one southeast of here, about 50, 60 miles. So you take your pick, have any one you want. We don't have any air conditioning in this cabin, and I always rely on the evening cool air to cool it down, but obviously that can't happen when it's very smoky. Okay, I'm not a big fan of math, but my constants are my HDUs, my hold downs. So let's do that first since we can't adjust those. I already marked out where it was. So it's 1 7/8 inches away from this edge. I see my red line down there. 1 7/8. Let's go ahead and drill these holes carefully. I don't want that to move. Okay, let's drill it. Hopefully there's a bolt down there somewhere. Okay. Come on. Put back to our line. All right, also 1 7/8 inches. Hey, I feel a bolt under there. That's good. Good. One there too. Okay, here are my hole downs. Gonna aim for the middle of the hole right now and draw a line. So this is HDU. This will mark the beginning of my king studs. So I need double kings, which you need to attach that to double studs anyway. So let's do double kings. Oh, what the heck happened there? There we go. King, king. And then a couple jacks. This may only require 1 jack. Let me double check. Okay, since this opening is less than 6 feet, we can get by with a single jack. So let's put that right here. Obviously, we're going to need one here, but I want to continue this layout from that point I was talking about earlier in this video, which we are at 16s. So let's keep on that layout, 16, 32. Oh, this one, we're not going to have room. Obviously not on layout, but we have to do what we have to do. I think this is just too far without a stud. So that's where we need to go. But we don't want to put that in yet, for sure. Of course, HDU, that isn't going to work right there. So we're going to have one over here somewhere. All right, and then right there. Even this one might be different because we have to build that pocket for that beam right there. Okay, now we need to take that header over there, the original header I built for that opening in the primary. I need to cut that down so it fits in here. So how long does that have to be? Well, it just has to sit on the jacks. 54 1/4. There you have it. This is where it gets kind of weird. So right here is the edge of this wall. So here is where the beam starts. The beam starts here, ends here. I have 2 jacks underneath, and because the beam is 3.5, 2 jacks are obviously only 3. There's going to be a little bit of a void there in the middle, which is fine. We'll still have 2 jacks supporting that beam. I'm cutting the jacks for the front door opening right now. Typically, a rough opening, a rough height for a front door is about 82 inches, 82.5 inches, because the door frame itself is 80 inches and they want a little bit of space. Well, since this is oversized or might be oversized, there's a small chance we have a 7-foot door in here, which is 84 inches. So I'm gonna make this rough opening 86.5 inches. So 86.5 inches for a rough opening. Subtracting the bottom plate that this sits on, 85 inches. That's how long these are. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Okay. wall up. Let's set these hold downs into place and go underneath and make sure they work. All right. All right, that's tight. Okay, that's it. This one wants to start crooked, so I have to influence it a little bit. Well, we're back. I didn't expect to be ending this video like this. I almost didn't make this portion of the video because part of me is ultimately embarrassed and humiliated, angry at myself. Okay, here's what happened. The last scene that you saw, I was in the emergency room. And yeah, you probably saw the boot. Well, I did not break my leg or my ankle or my foot or anything like that. I cut myself. It was pretty bad. I cut myself on that metal strapping that I was just getting ready to put the poster inside of. I didn't see it. I stepped over it and I sliced my leg open. It's pretty graphic. I can't show you. I don't think YouTube would like that. So I'll describe it the best I can. This little, right next to your shin bone, in other words, instead of going to the inside where it's really hard, the outside where that muscle is, when you take your foot like that. Well, this cut started about here, ended about here. It's, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 inches long, and it actually cut into that muscle. And that's the bad news, I guess. So I don't know exactly how long it's going to take for me to get back on my feet, literally. Just because it's a walking boot doesn't mean it's comfortable. Pain is substantially better today. And by the way, this is day 3. That happened 3 days ago today. So after this video, I'm not exactly sure when my next video will be. I will try to get one out. My wife Karen came over, bless her soul. She came over to help me. So we may try to stitch together a video, no pun intended. Oh, and if you're curious, had two layers of stitches. The inner layer that basically stitched up the fascia around the muscle, that took, the doctor forgot, 12 or 15 stitches. And the outside took 26 stitches. So there were a few. Did I mention I was angry at myself? It's really no laughing matter, but I figure if someone can learn from my stupid mistake and pay attention, then this is worth doing. So hopefully this is worth doing. For those of you whose entertainment value is completely dependent on how much progress I make in one video, I let you down. That's just the way it is. No one's more upset about this than I am, so we just have to do what we can do. I'm going to build this house one way or another. That's all there is to it. Hopefully I'll see you back here next time. A video comes out whenever that is. So yeah, subscribe, put your notifications on. Not sure when it will be. Well, I appreciate every one of you. So thank you. Take care of yourself and be careful.